me.
He's got his bearings in balance. As soon as he lands, he's set up so many scores tonight.
Change him, Tippett, doesn't he?
Sends the challenge for Jacobs. And Tippett like the crowd. Jacobs wins the contest against the adversary of Kurt Tippett, but it's not done yet. It's still on the wing and it's up for grabs. They handball their way into the clear now. Douglas emerges, tempted by the vacancy. The temptation was great. And he bets! Who else would he? Couldn't be anyone else.
What a cruel bounce.
There's 11 down there, Rupert.
Their most powerful on ball is now in the centre circle.
So it comes down to this. Adelaide by 4 points. 51,000 people watch on. Crucial release out of who two, the covered bear. Walker, it's going to bounce out of the pocket. It's perfect because it doesn't give the ball back.
Deliberate end over end. You can't be split from all.
We'll throw in the pocket. They need to get it out of here and get it out of there soon, Sydney. With a big kick, Parker does that. It's back to the wing. Heaney can't take the mark this time. Mitchell, they inch their way forward. Now an impasse. And the footy on the side of the Crows. Jenkins, as much territory as possible. We're down to 40 seconds. This is the Crows are made from Harper to Swans. No! It's all Adelaide. It's Eddie again. The killer blow. Enjoy this.
And there, people, what an game of footy it was on Saturday night. Welcome to Sunday night's weekend wrap. We're here to keep a lid on it, aren't we, Nikki? How you going?
Oh, we're totally going to keep a lid on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And filling in tonight, because I wasn't sure whether Nikki was actually going to make it after a bruising encounter today, I've got my good mate, Brownie. How you going, mate? Welcome to the podcast. Brownie, wake up. Oh, he's gone.
He's on silent. No.
You there, Brownie? Nah, I'll have to call him back.
You've done well. That's a good start.
Anyway, bloody hell.
You call him back.
I'm calling him back while we start crapping on about the sensational game of footy that came about on. So start talking, Nikki.
Well, that seriously was a finals game of footy played in April, which a lot of the pundits have actually, or the so-called experts, have talked about this morning. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, it was intense from start to finish. It wasn't either side that could really hang their heads and say that they were hard done by or didn't give 100%. Lots of comments about the umpiring, obviously, but I thought it was just two very hard teams going at it for 100 minutes was awesome.
I mean, I was asked at the start of just before the last quarter and said that I think it was going to go, and it was like, I got no idea. I was a bit worried because we've tired in those last 10 minutes.
Got you there, Brownie?
Hey, Brownie.
I'm here, mate.
What happened? You hit mute or something?
No, I just died. I don't know what happened.
I got to say, Nick, that it's a major technological achievement to get Brownie on the podcast. You wouldn't describe as the most technologically proficient person on the planet, Mr. Brown?
I'd say technologically challenged would be the word, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. But it's great to have you on, mate, and thankfully we've got you on board now. We were just saying that it was a game on Saturday that was played at pretty high intensity from start to finish. Has he gone again? Are you still there or are you gone? Nah, he's gone. I'm calling him back again. He's out at Grant. He's out in the Barossa and he's been sipping on wine all afternoon.
As you should.
Yeah. I'll try him once more and then we're going to give up.
Oh, this is hilarious. At least I don't know. I suppose this is kind of like the start of the game where the umpires kept trying to give Sydney goals.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
there
how
now,
the hell
mate?
is nobody...
I'm here. Yeah, something's going on.
Yay!
You keep dropping out.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'll keep trying.
I'm telling you right now, if you keep dropping out, that's you're out. We'll have to do it another time.
Yeah, that's cool, mate.
Anyway, Nick, what were you saying?
Oh, it was just how nobody's picked that was an absolutely blatant throw by Heaney at the start, but he's going to be an amazing player.
Yeah, he's pretty solid, isn't he? He's what is it? His second year, isn't it? And he's already looking like a seasoned veteran.
He hasn't played 20 games yet.
So, yeah, I mean, when they got those first 2 goals at the start, Brownie, I don't know what you thought of it, but when I saw those 2 go, it's like, oh shit, here we go. It's going to be one of those games.
Yeah, it looked a bit like last year starting all over again. But yeah, it's just amazing how quickly we sort of and just got onto our new game plan. And once we got onto that fast movement of the ball, it just turned around quick.
Yeah, I mean they smacked us early in the clearances, and they really looked like that. You know, I mean, I think everyone predicted that was where we were going to struggle in the clearance. Certainly, David King was fapping on all week about how we're a shit clearance team, but it didn't take us too long to start evening up those numbers, did it, Nick?
No, and it was kind of fun because mostly what it was Kennedy out the back. We were doing quite well at the bottling in, but then just get that little bit of a push out to him actually hanging out the back. We tightened up on that. I think we had McKay sitting on him for a little bit. I know Douglas was at one stage, he wasn't put forward.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Sydney sat on Smith and sat on Matt Crouch.
Yeah, particularly Smith. I thought they were going to sit on Smith and also Seedsman because they've just given us so much drive. Seed got off the chain a little bit. Brody found it more difficult. But the bloke that really stood up, Brandon, I'd be interested in your take on this guy. Has been light on for dazzles the previous couple of weeks. Playing a role, but 25 touches for Rory Atkins. What a game by that young lad.
Yeah, he just looks like a class act. And I think the thing that's going to be great with him going forward as he gets more confident at that level is his disposal is just immaculate. That goal that he kicked at the end, you know, when there's a fair bit of pressure in the game, it was an important time, and he just slotted it beautifully. He looks like he's got a lot of time and a hell of a lot of upside.
Yeah, he's got that nice little inside move that some lefties have, and you know, lefties are usually so left-sided that everyone goes to the left side, and he steps inside neatly all the time and gives himself an extra second. And apart from that one towards the end of the match, I think it was to Sloaney that carried over his head and nearly cost us a goal. His disposal was excellent, and just to see him get more involved in play, 25 touches would be a career high for him, I think.
Yeah, and
I think it's close to that.
Brownie?
Now keep going, Brownie.
No, I was just going to say, you can't just sweat on him around the big buddy Franklin Ark. He can duck back inside, like you said, and he's pretty versatile. I reckon. He's going to be a fantastic player if we can keep him down.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Nick?
It's just that the composure that he had, and I put this in Commander's thread that he started about how he believes, is that what's really impressed me is I could see it towards the end of last year, and it's been built on even more this year, is our composure, that we take our time. And Atkins is one of those, like Miller, he can just kind of...
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all there? Sorry.
Yeah, we're all here.
Just a bit crackly tonight. Keep going, Nick, sorry.
It's just that you've gone through your headphones, so that's slightly disturbing.
Go on, I'll work it out.
Yeah, it's just this composure that we've got. It's so great to see, and it gives younger players like him, and as we've seen in the previous weeks with Miller, I always stuff that up, and also Gov. Gov was amazing this game. Those 2 goals he kicked, like the left foot from 55 out, he's a right footer, but he's like, no, I'm going to kick it left, and then that little trap and the composure to then basically wrong foot Richards, get him completely out of the way, pick up the ball, steady himself, kick for goal. it's, that was great to see as well.
Yeah, for such a young player to have that composure and the confidence in himself to be able to pull that off, that was pivotal. Although I didn't make the AFL highlights reel, apparently only Sydney played well.
That was hilarious.
I was watching it going, did we actually play, or is this just Sydney's highlights?
Yeah, pretty much. And what was the other one? Was Channel 7, I've only seen part of it this morning, their game day, where they had some highlights. They only got the end of McGovern's seemingly easy run into goal. They completely did not put in his little trap of the ball and everything else. Like, that's the best part.
Yeah, that was the actual highlight. Brownie, what do you think about Sloaney? He had probably his best game for the season so far, I reckon.
Oh, he was leading from the front, no doubt about that. I thought some of his marks under pressure. He plays taller than he is above the head. He's a bit like Dangerfield. He marks really well for his size. And using the ball, I reckon he's using the ball a bit better this year.
Just before you go on, mate, that's $1 in the swear jar. We don't actually mention Dangerfield.
Phil, sorry about that.
We leave that up to the rest of the official media.
Oh, you're talking about Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's straightened out my long fellow.
Yeah, 10 tackles from Sloaney, as well as 24 touches. 6 inside 50s. And was there in the clutches all night. And he was a pivotal reason.
His pressure, you don't see the stats for the pressure, but his pressure all night was just constant. If it wasn't a tackle, he was pushing someone the other way and they were getting tackled by someone else. And he just did not stop. Just unbelievable effort.
Yeah.
And the other one, I think, was Thompson had 9 tackles or something.
No, he had 10 as well, according to the stats.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, how good is he? He's for mine, he's probably having a start to a season for 3 or 4 years. And it was interesting, usually take what Dermy says with a pinch of salt, but he made a very good point in the last when Tomo had a couple of minutes off. The Swans won every clearance while he was off. And as soon as he came back on, we certainly did seem to steady again for those final 5 minutes or so. The other bloke I thought did really well that was probably a little bit unhappy was Jared Lyons. It didn't get a lot of stats, only 15 kicks, which is still not a bad effort. But he was in and under a lot. He was always fighting for the ball, and I think he was playing a slightly defensive role on Tommy Mitchell. And I thought...
Yeah.
And that give to the Rat at the end, that was brilliant composure and vision, because he had to put it out in front of Atkins over a Swans player, and Rory didn't have to break stride. So it was good to see both Lions and Rat involved in such a pivotal moment, 2 young blokes.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to it, and that they're trusting each other. And there was a couple of, I think, kicks to McGovern as well. They'll put it up higher so that the opposition can't punch it because they know he can jump. And he did some great pressure stuff as well, which I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet because I haven't watched the replay. I watched the last 6 minutes when I came home, but I'm not sure whether it will show up on the replay at all. But he was doing some of that great pressure stuff that we've seen all throughout this season. I mean, so far, all 3-4 games. But that's great that we were in their face. And I think there was a really interesting comment was that when Sydney got on top of us, it was when we were playing our game, or they were playing our game. So the fast break out the back. And when we got on top of Sydney, it was when we were kind of beating them at their own game.
Yeah. There was a pivotal moment, and in times gone past, that was a sort of game that we would have, put up a game effort, and it would have been an honourable loss kind of thing. But there was a pivotal moment about halfway through the third quarter when the ball was in dispute on the outer wing, and 4 or 5 closed quick gives under immense pressure by Adelaide, and we wrested back the ball when it was really in dispute, and went down and scored. And for me, that was the moment where in the past we would have faltered and we would have lost momentum, and Sydney would have kicked the next 3, and that would have been the ball game. So in terms of our mental application and our willing to stick with the contest and have numbers at the ball, that was a key moment for me. Hey, Brenny, Kyle Hardigan gets slammed on our forums, and I know that you're not a footy forum person, so you have a very clean view. So what do you reckon about not only his game last night, but his development as a defender?
Yeah, I actually, one of those strange people who actually, I saw a lot of positive stuff from him last year.
Yeah.
I like you, Brownie.
When he's out of position, he's still got the ability to get his fist on the ball. It's a bit like an orangutan. He can sort of get that fist there when he's out of position. He's starting to mark, contested marks now as well. He sort of knows when he has to fist, when it's safe to mark. And the disposal that he's been slammed so much for over the last probably 18 months, he's hitting targets 9 times out of 10. I just love his size. I love the way he still plays with take a risk and get rid of it quickly. He doesn't sort of sit back and think about it. He's moving on quickly. He's really, playing good team football, and I reckon he's got huge upside. I think he's potentially another Ben Rutten down the track for sure.
Mate, I'm with you 100% on that one. I defended his cause very similarly over the last 12 to 18 months, and even at the beginning, there were a lot of people on our footy boards that were quite happy that he wasn't included against the Kangaroos, and quite frankly, I think that probably cost us the game against Melbourne, that particular selection. So, and he seems to be growing in confidence, like you say, with his thought processes are speeding up. So, the fact that the manner in which he was able to double team on their deep forward, usually Buddy, it was him and Talia working together in tandem was excellent.
Yeah, and he had the confidence to lead his man when he had to.
Exactly.
And what most people don't realise about him, but kind of saw it last night, was how quick he actually is. He's got a fair burst of speed on him, and unlike Rutten, he can actually turn quite quickly. I mean, I loved Rutts, but he did have the turning circle of the Queen Mary. We've got to give him that. But yeah, Hardigan, as Walshy was saying last year, we've got to get 50 games into him quickly. He's still really quite inexperienced, and playing a key position back role, that's not easy.
Yeah, I agree. He, probably enough said about Kyle, but I'm certainly glad he's in the team, and I think he's, I don't think his selection's up for dispute anymore, even against a smaller forward line like the Bullies. I think you'd probably give him a crack at Jake Stringer again and see how he goes.
Now, the interesting one is Franklin kicked 4 goals, dished off 2, but I still reckon Talia had a decent game against him.
Well, I mean, Buddy got 2 over the back, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. That was good running. That was good running by him. And he managed, one of them he was actually on Hardigan, and I think a free should have been paid against him because he actually grabbed Hardigan, threw him away well before the ball was within 5 metres. And incidentally, it happened in the play just after Tex had been done for throwing Rampy away, even though the ball was within 5 metres in that respect. So I'm a bit grumpy about that one. But he does run hard. We know that. He was back to that devastating Franklin that we'd seen from a couple of years ago. But I thought Tails actually had a decent game against him.
What do you reckon, Brownie?
Yeah, I reckon when you look at Buddy, he was actually almost back to his best last night. He was marking, and he hadn't been doing much of that the first few games. He was running beautifully. He's just so balanced. I think if you keep him to 4, you're actually doing okay. And he's still, Talia still made plenty of contests, nullified plenty of contests. You can't stop the guy. He's that good. And he got 2 easy ones over the back. So really, it's only two goals I'll look at. The rest, the 2 easy ones, he was zoning and he just got caught out. There's nothing he could really do about it. So overall, if that's his worst game for the year, I'll take it any day.
Yeah, the thing about Charles's game, particularly for me, was those sort of crucial chop-out marks he took one-on-one I think one was a mark and one might have been a spoil out of bounds or something. But there were two crucial contests, I think, in the last 5 or 10 minutes that he outpointed Buddy, and they were quite crucial, I think. And again, another point where we might have faltered, but we were able to steady. So I thought Tails. I'd probably say Tails broke even on the night. Cole Chaney had an interesting game. Nikki, how'd you see that one?
We were kind of discussing. My mother wanted him off of Heaney, and my dad and I were just going, no, he's the only one you can kind of put on Heaney, because Sheeny, besides the fact that their names rhyme, so I'll go with Feta. So Feta's got the jump, so he can actually do that well. He's quick, as we saw that run down, or the run past Mitchell that he did to chase that ball into the forward 50. That was a beautiful thing to watch. I thought he had a pretty good game. He was up there in amongst their best players from my mind. So he gives that great dimension that we need. I think he's a bit of a wiser head down there, which we do need, understanding how young our backline is. Lever, again, some great little intercepts and chop that he did. I'm really happy with the backline that it is at the moment. I think Shaw's been doing okay in the SANFL, and if he comes in, then it's possibly only going to be because of an injury, just the way these guys are playing so well together.
What do you reckon about Chaney, Brownie?
Yeah, he was on an interesting player. I mean, I don't think anyone could have stopped him the way he was playing last night. So I think Chaney when he gets it, he uses it well. He's proactive. He runs, and I think he did a reasonable job. At the end of the day, I think Heaney is probably going to be, in 3 or 4 years' time, he's going to be regarded as a top line forward. And Cheney probably, you couldn't say broke even, but I think he did a reasonable job, and I don't think we had anyone that was more suited to him with the spring that could go with him. So yeah, a reasonable effort, and they've got to have. In a game like that, they're going to have 1 or 2 players play well. You can't stop it. But our team defense overall, I think, was fantastic. That's the key. If one guy's down, the other guys help with the pressure. And overall, I think we did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I'm with you on Chaney. He adds more than he costs. He plays with a lot of passion. So every now and again, I think he overcommits to contests and maybe gets involved in contests that he should zone back off. But he does a lot of things well. He's pretty quick over the ground too. So, I'm with you, both of you, actually. I like our back six at the moment. It looks solid. Not names that you would normally be inspired with confidence. But as a unit, they're working really well together. Rory Laird down the back there is just he's an absolute gun, and Brown is just solid every week. That rundown spoil that he made in the last quarter against Jack, where he didn't look like making it until the very last moment. That's the type of thing that Lukey Brown does every week. So going well down back there.
Yeah, Brown is probably an underrated player.
But people don't realise how quick.
I think you're both going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brownie.
No, you're right. Go for it.
Oh, don't be polite.
I was just going to say that, like...
I think there's a little bit of a delay between the two of you.
Yeah,
I'm going to direct traffic, so I think there's... Brownie, what do you reckon about Lukey Brown?
Oh, I just think he's underrated. He's just so consistent. He's using the ball well. He's so bloody hard. When he tackles, he makes them feel it. He's really good with the spoil. He doesn't get outmarked one-on-one very often at all. And he's just really cool under pressure. I love the fact that he doesn't just panic. He'll hold the ball a bit longer and get that right option. He doesn't just... Last year, there were a few games where our defence were just bombing the ball and it was coming straight over the back every time, and we didn't learn from it. This year, we're just holding that ball that little bit longer, and we're finding the right option. And I think that I think he's got a hell of a lot of a future, and he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's quality.
Nikki, your thoughts?
amusingly on the Crow show, which was aired this morning, they were interviewing Brownie, and Brown pointed out that Smith keeps reminding him that every time Brown has a good game, that's kind of one of his games. So I think there's some nice little shit being given amongst the boys. He's going to do his job, and watching him run down and do that spoil, the perfect fist, he didn't give away a free kick, managed to kill the ball over the line and stop them getting a nice free run. You love those type of players. And Lairdy is just, I mean, he was leading our possessions for most of the game, I think.
Yeah.
And that's not bad for a guy who's actually still doing a bit of a lockdown defensive role and then just going nuts up the field.
Yeah, 27 disposals, equal top disposal getter. Just an absolute gun. You can't say a bad word about him. And he plays like he's played 100 games or 150 games, and it's hard to imagine that he's such a young player. He's just going to be the new Stiffy Johncock I saw on the boards today, and that's not a bad comparison.
Except he actually can play midfield. And I think, who's it, Johannesson from the Western Bulldogs, and they're talking about him being the running halfback, flanker, etc., because the Bulldogs have been playing so well, and he's been their best player, and I'm sitting there going, you guys forgetting Rory Laird.
Well, they forgot a whole freaking team, haven't they, for the first 3 rounds, so it's hardly surprising.
We've made them sit up and take notice.
Yeah. It's an interesting ladder, and we'll go through the rest of the results before we sign off tonight. Who really gives us stuff right now? But it's an interesting ladder at the moment. I still think there's only 9 teams in it, and without going too much into it right now, the Bullies only got over Carlton by 6 goals. And I don't know what the weather was like over in Melbourne today, but it's not an overly convincing result, and you wonder how much Bob Murphy's going to cost them. But anyway, who cares about that?
The other thing I would just like to point out to everybody on the board is that Smith is not playing on the wing. Stop saying Smith on the wing. He's not there. He's playing off the half line. Our wingmen are Seedsman, McKay, Sloan, and Atkins, and occasionally, at one stage, Betts.
I think, to be fair, I think we're actually rolling a few in and out. I think McKay and Smith, and also even Laird roll back and forward. Like, it's very much sliding zone. So the whole positional talk, I think, is a bit irrelevant these days. I mean, they might set up a certain way at centre, but after that, I think they have roles to play. And I don't really think it matters. What position they're selected in. It's more about zones and roles.
Yeah, but the zone Smith is in is actually in the defensive half. He's one of those like Laird and Brown, and even Hardigan now, that has the license to run forward through that midfield and help support bringing the ball forward. But his ultimate responsibility is back in the defensive zone in that grouping.
Yeah, and it's probably a good segue, Brownie, into a little bit of a chat about the structure, because we certainly played a different style of game on Saturday night compared to the first couple of weeks where we were content to read off half back. I felt like we were playing the ground in two sections basically. We were happy to lock down in their forward 50. But we weren't trying to rebound as hard from the back line. I felt like we were trying to push back up to the middle of the ground and then drive through there. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, pretty similar. It probably wasn't that run and carry that we saw the week before as much from Seedsman and Smith, but I think that was just a symptom of the pressure. It was probably the highest pressure game I think I've seen all year. You compare it to the Port game today, where it looked like, GWS were playing circle work. There was no pressure on the ball carrier whatsoever. There was pretty much intense pressure for the whole game, and I think that's probably the reason why you didn't see that run and carry so much.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting watching it at the game. I didn't have a lot of time like I normally do, where you can kind of study it a little bit better, because just the pressure was so intense. You didn't want to look away from where the ball was because it was just going to move so fast. once it got out, regardless of which side had. I think they were right in what we said at the start. This was like a finals intensity game. I mean, everybody brought the pressure, and it was just who was going to blink first.
Yeah, and interestingly, on a couple of occasions, it was actually Sydney who did blink with a couple of poor disposals. I felt whereas before we've fallen back to half back when opposition have got the ball and we've tended to cluster up along that half back line. We were pushing up and closing the ground, or making the ground more congested when they had the ball. Certainly because they were playing one-on-one, I think that nullified our run and carry, as you said, Brownie, to a certain extent. There was certainly a shift in our tactics from the previous couple of weeks.
And I just like the way we managed to get back on top. And we were willing to play that man on man. We weren't worried about that at all, which was good to see that, okay, yep, they're not allowing us to play like we have for these other games. Fine, bring it on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could probably go on and on and on, but final words, Brownie, on the game, and maybe a little comment on what it means for the Hawthorn game next week?
Yeah, well, probably the positives that I took out of it were there were only a couple of periods in the game where you were a bit worried the Swans were starting to take control. Early in the game when they sort of jumped us, and then late in the third quarter when they kicked sort of 3 on the trot. But I just like the way we responded. We didn't in past years we would have let that turn into 5 or 6 goals in a row, and we cut it there and we fought back. So we didn't let them really get a run on and get an ascendancy. So we seem to have it just seems to be a lot more belief there. So in terms of the Hawthorn game, we went into that final last year after we beat the Bullies thinking we were a reasonable chance, and in hindsight we just weren't probably at that level. But I think if we play the kind of game we've been playing in the first 4 weeks, whether we can win or not, who knows? Giving it, but I think we'll be in it in the fourth quarter. I don't think you're going to know at the beginning of the fourth quarter who's going to win it, which is probably, that's all you can ask. You can't expect us necessarily to beat them, but I think if we play our best footy, I think we're actually going to be a chance.
Yep. Nick, what do you reckon?
Oh, for me, I think it was, you can stick with some C words. So we played with courage.
We don't say those
played
words.
With courage, consistency. I mean, the team was consistent overall, really. If you look at our even spread across the thing. The crowd was absolutely amazing there, 51,300, and the noise. And this is the one player we actually haven't talked about, Eddie.
Yeah.
Just you can see him even before he's got the ball, the crowd just starts going nuts.
Yeah, there's always something going to happen.
Players.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's it. I listened to Dan Rampy, and he actually said how loud the crowd was, that they couldn't hear each other out on the field too well.
Yeah.
But he said it was good for them to be their side to be experience that kind of crowd.
And what do you reckon about next week?
Oh, hang on. There's one other thing that nobody's really mentioned. Tippett on the ground, Crouch getting into him, and Thompson getting into him with a nice little forearm across his neck and holding him down for a while, and I think having a few words. I like that when that happened.
Yeah, there didn't seem to be a hell of a lot of animosity between us and Kurt. I think Kurt handled the week pretty well. I think I didn't see too much bad blood. I mean, there was obviously going to be some focus on him. I think the media beat it up a bit, but Jesus, it's 4 years ago, and I think everyone's moved on. And a lot of blokes playing for us weren't even around, or they were just on the fringes when all that went down. So yeah. So the Hawthorn game, Nick, a quick comment.
Oh, I think everybody's going to pretty much think that one's going to be match of the round. That one will really test where we are. Thank God Hawthorn actually won, although they all agree that they're lucky. They're not playing well. And there was a Hawthorn supporter on the main board who just said, there's only two teams I'm scared of, and that's the Crows in Sydney, and I'm scared for next week. And that's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest challenge for Hawthorn next week over us is their ability to cover our spread on the wide MCG. I think playing on the MCG, even though it's not a ground we play often on, I think it actually suits our fast spread now. And I think Hawthorn like to make the ground very small. They crowd up. They certainly do against West Coast. They make the ground very small against West Coast, and West Coast struggle to get through that zone. Whereas I think we've got a bit more pace, and I think with a couple of key outs at the moment and a few players struggling, I think that might be where they have trouble with us. I think our challenge again is going to be to bring that intensity into the midfield again. Obviously, Sammy Mitchell's gone berserk again. I mean, ridiculous that he could be in Brownlow calculations again, but he just racks up the ball all the time. So I think it'll be quite an interesting game. A 50-50 once again, I reckon.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard to kind of predict and see how this one's going to go. You just got to wait and see who turns up and brings the best pressure. I think that's ultimately it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we back up after such a solid win. Hopefully, another step along the path, we bring the same intensity away from home. And I think we will, actually. As Brownie mentioned earlier, I reckon there's a real steel and a real resilience in our team this year, and a real sense of belief in themselves and each other. So bring it on, I say. So, just to round it off, Nikki, because we're supposed to be wrapping up the whole bloody weekend, let's just go through the other results quickly. Friday night, West Coast towered. How disappointing is Richmond, Brownie? Well, he's
so
gone,
disappointing, he doesn't want to talk about it.
Had a gutful.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
if you're a Richmond supporter, wouldn't you?
Well, 68 points in a canter, and I swear to God...
West Coast didn't play that well either.
No, it was every game that Richmond's played in, including ours, they've looked absolutely horrible. Anyway, so West Coast easy. The other games on Saturday, the Cats accounted for the Bombers in a bit of a slog, getting up by 5 goals.
Interestingly, though, most of the commentators about that said Geelong did themselves no favours. It was a horrible game of football, and Geelong actually didn't look good.
No, but sometimes that's as much the opposition not letting you look good. But I didn't watch the game, and just looking at 9 goals, 18, they obviously probably could have won by a bit more. Hawks just getting over the line over the Saints. Saints not looking too bad actually. They'd be
helped
happy
out
with
by some umpiring.
Yeah, well, you got to say that they were a bit fortunate, Hawthorn, in the end. So, but them's... Sorry, go on.
Oh no, the fact that Clarkson has come out, and so have the players actually come out and said we shouldn't have won that game. The best team did not win that game.
Yeah, I think that's Clarko having a rip at some of his own players, to be honest. Surprising one, Lions getting up over the Suns. That certainly messed up my tips. Getting up by a couple of goals up there, by all accounts.
I think you can have a little chat about a certain Stephen May incident. Just, I think, steeled the Lions.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll probably cover... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he gets 4 or 6 weeks. I think they're going to throw the book at him. And he got done last year for 3, so it'll be at least 4.
Well, you would think so. He left the ground, head-high contact, obviously an impact on the player. I mean, Stephen Martin was pretty badly hurt, so... It was interesting. I was just browsing the stats, and I noticed that G. Ablett had a fairly quiet game. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know whether they were sitting on him or whether he's just a bit down. But he hasn't seemed to have set the world on fire this season so far. I wonder about that shoulder.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, injuries are actually starting to hit certain teams. Because the other one, of course, is that Western Bulldogs game, and Tom Boyd's hurt his shoulder. The shoulder that's hurt there.
Yeah.
So,
and they didn't look overly. They didn't look overly convincing over Carlton, winning by 6 in the end. But not a convincing result there.
Yeah, a lot of people actually, because I haven't seen any of these other games, so I'm just going on what other people were talking about. And the thing I noticed about that game was the same theme over and over again. It was actually Carlton played quite well.
Yeah, well, I think Bolton's got them heading in the right direction. It's going to take them some time and probably some personnel, I think, before they really start to make any inroads. But at least I think they're playing a better brand of football than they have been over the last couple of years.
So how long will it take him to de-Carltonise Carlton?
Well, he's probably going to have to turn over a bit of his list before he can do that. You got guys like Levi Casbolt getting a game, and he can clunk a mark, but there comes a time where the future's no longer the future, and we'll get to Port. we'll get to the Port in a second.
Yes, bring on that mob.
Yeah. Melbourne got up over the Pies. The Pies look like shit. And
I
it's
think
amazing.
I predicted that.
Well, I didn't, and it's amazing how pre-season form can be so misleading, because everyone had the
they misled me.
Yeah, me too. I thought they looked like a team on the rise, but they look like shit. They're playing like shit. They're not playing for their coach at the moment. And
not playing for each other.
No, exactly right. And the Roos got up over the Dockers. I thought the Dockers might bounce back, and they certainly gave it a shake, Fremantle. But the Kangaroos now the only undefeated team in the comp. A little surprisingly, but they're travelling well, and they've got their players on deck at the moment. So they got by 5 goals. And the game, I guess, we'd like to spend a moment just to reflect.
Reflect away.
GWS 22 goals 19 versus the Port Adelaide Power. I guess you'd like to call them, or they'd like to call themselves 9 goals 11. 86 points. They're in a lot of strife.
And that was the highest score GWS has ever scored in the AFL.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So, very disappointing.
And I think I said this just before we came on air. I caught when I left Alberton today, because, I was watching Port Magpies getting beaten down there. And I helped in one of them. And I was at the end of that game, and so Treadray on Triple M, and he said this comment, which was very interesting, which was that Port would think that they would have come into that game thinking that they're better than GWS, that they're better players than GWS, and it's like, seriously? So that's why they lost by that much? If you're going into a game thinking, oh yeah, these guys aren't as good as us, that's shooting yourself in the foot.
I think that's actually Port's problem to some degree. I think that they've believed their own hype, and at the moment, to be perfectly frank, and I don't like Port much, but I don't like to sit and snipe, but to me, they seem to be a club full of cliches and mantras and all the rest of it at the moment, and not a lot of substance. There doesn't seem to be a lot of just get down and get your hands dirty by that club at the moment. And you just wonder whether all the off-field crap that's going on there is taking the club's focus away from the football. And you wonder whether they're too focused on making profits now, and understandably, considering they've had so many problems financially in the past, they've actually forgot that they're there, by their own creed to win games of football.
Now, Frank's just said that Gray and Dixon got a bit punchy. I'd heard that Dixon hit Davis. Who did Gray hit?
I don't know. I didn't watch the game. Frank, who did Gray hit?
Yeah, come on, tell us. Don't leave us hanging here, Frank. But, there we go. Callum Ward in the midriff.
There we go. Oh, and Ryan B's given us...
Yeah. I mean, that is perfect. Kelly, Whitfield, Caniglio, Green, or Young, Amon, Archie, and Pollock. Yeah, the first group you're going to take.
That's right. Porter got some big problems. They got some list management problems. I think they've got some issues in the coach's box. And probably Kenny needs to drop the let's play the Port Adelaide way, because the Port Adelaide way isn't working right now, and I think they just need to reset and find a system that actually works for them without putting a label on everything.
And because Danos isn't here, nice little sort of stat is that was the worst loss for Port Adelaide since 2011 Chad Corn's retirement game.
Poor old Chad. They've been getting into the corners to see the Port supporters. They're turning on their own there. They've forgotten how many games Chad probably won for them over the journey.
Yeah, out of them or Richmond, who would be the most aggrieved bunch of supporters at the moment?
Oh, Richmond have got a lot longer history to be aggrieved about. And no joy on the horizon either. You got to think that blokes like Hinkley and Hardwick, and probably to a lesser extent Ross Lyon, even are just looking a little bit shaky at the moment.
Yeah, Lyon's interesting because he has actually started talking about the rebuild. Hardwick's done the same thing, but I think Lions will be given a bit more of slack than I think Hardwick will.
Yeah, and I guess you can throw Buckley into that mix as well, although I think Eddie's got him protected for a little while. The thing I would probably give Lyon credit for is that he's come out very early on and said we've tried to make some changes and they haven't worked. So at least he acknowledges that it's as much about game plan as it is about personnel at the moment at Fremantle. And look, he went down by 4 or 5 goals and they were in for quite a long period of the game against the Kangaroos. So I think they'll bounce back and they may still even make the 8.
Yeah, I think this is a season where you can start 0-4 by the look of it, and you may still make it. It's I think there's somebody that they put on the main board that this is feeling like 1997, 1998, with how open the season seems to be. I just hope somebody has replied to that with Adelaide likes this.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I reckon we're pretty much done, Nick. Fantastic win on the weekend. It's fantastic to see the Crows back in competitive shape and still plenty of improvement left in the team, I think. A bit of maturity, get that game plan solidified, but they're certainly playing with belief and confidence and no fear, which is what I like the most. So augurs well. So thanks very much for joining me tonight, Nick.
No problems.
And thanks to Brownie. I'll be giving him a call in a minute and saying thank you. But it was good for him to hop on board. And we might have him again on a Sunday night. He's good value. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, and the fact that he's not
a nice other opinion.
Well, and he's not a big footy board person, so it's interesting to hear his views on some of the players that get a bit of a workout on the board. So that's all good. Anyway, we enjoy that. We're done for now. So thanks, guys, for listening. Don't forget Tuesday night we have Tuesday Night Live again. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a player on this week. I don't know who that player is going to be, but the club has promised to dish up a player, so hopefully watch the boards and we'll have details of that. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you next weekend.
Bye.